Welcome to Roll to Hit Gaming Monthly. Today, we'll take a look back at November 2017.
We're also going to tell you our remembrances of BGGCON.
It was an awful month for the Shelf of Shame. We should be ashamed of we are ashamed of ourselves. We need a bell ringing in the background from Game of Thrones. Shame.
No remorse.
Shame, shame. For Roll Hit Gaming, I'm Chip.
I'm Joe.
I'm Lucas. Last month, we put up a number of videos on the channel. I published the second episode of the Miniature Report, and in that episode, we focus on one of the new X-Wing wave ships, and then we shift over to Games Workshop for their 8th edition release of the Tyranids Army and the long-awaited return of Necromunda.
And, of course, we gave you video of our coverage at BGGCON, a couple of interviews with publishers, and some walkthroughs of the vendor rooms and the gaming halls. If you haven't seen them, check them out.
And let's not forget, we also presented you a guide for shopping for Christmas. Our 15 thoughts on what would be good for you. So we did play several games this month, but there are 3 that kind of stood out for us. And those 3 are Newsfjord, 5 Tribes, and Dungeon Pets. So we're going to go through each one and tell you what we think. Chip, why don't you start us off?
All right, Newsfjord, even though it's fun to say, it's really an awesome game. And before we started filming today, I came to the realization I don't think I had really had the full Uwe Rosenberg experience, right? And I mean, I played Agricola's family version, but I've never played a full game of it because I couldn't figure it out. I haven't played Caverna yet and all these others. So this one, man, I mean, it was really cool. There was a lot to do, a lot of things to kind of track and take care of. But basically, you're trying to build a fishing community, and you've got to take on some elders to kind of guide your ways, and they'll give you some sort of special powers to go along. And then, you're catching fish, and maybe you're building new boats so you can catch more fish. But you don't want to get too many boats without building up your supply because, whatever excess you can't store, you got to get rid of and that kind of stuff. So it's that kind of management of resources and intake and outtake and stuff. And then, you're gaining points for doing a number of different things. And you're also building buildings in your little town, in your little fishing village. It's just a really cool game, and it was a neat introduction to a designer that I hadn't had a lot of experience with. So get a chance. Newsfjord is a really good game to check out.
For me, this particular game seemed a little bit lighter than the other Uwe Rosenberg games out there. Most of them seem to be a bit more epic in nature. This one seemed more streamlined and focused in. I really did enjoy it because mainly the fishing bits. It's like everything is tied to everything else. So you need the ships in order to get the fish, in order to feed the elders, and it just all kind of fed this little engine. I just thought it was amazing. I really did enjoy that one.
Yeah. Collect resources, build building to get points, and have all of it gelled together in a kind of, brain-burning type way. That's Uwe Rosenberg.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I think if you are into some of his other games, you owe it to yourself at least give this one a shot because it feels like you're playing an Uwe Rosenberg game.
Now, another one that we played is actually from the Wayback Machine that we finally got to the table, and that was 5 Tribes. This one was a lot of fun. Basically, you are trying to get a hold of genies, right? And they give you special powers, and then you're moving in this kind of, Mancala way in order to, you're picking up things, and where you land, that's, what you pick up, and you have assassins or building or merchants. It's really cool the way it all ties together, and it's just one giant puzzle. So 5 Tribes was definitely a winner for me.
Yeah, I've always struggled with the idea of the Mancala and thinking that I wouldn't get it, and that I wouldn't see it. But that wasn't a problem. I did, and it was really neat, kind of a puzzly thing that you're trying to put together here. And I felt like there were multiple ways you could go to score points to gain victory, which is always going to be a good thing. I regret that we didn't buy this game years ago.
Yeah, it has a lot going for it, and it's a really neat implementation of Mancala that you're picking up an assortment of colors and the one you land, the last one you place is the one that triggers some type of effect. Also, the modularity of the board pretty much guarantees, a new experience each time you play, because you're signing those tiles out, randomly every time. And I mean, it's what a great game. It's just a great time all around. 5 Tribes, check it out.
Yeah, and then the last one we've got here for our games of the month is going to be another one from a while back, and it's sat on the shelf for a really long time, and that's because of the crap rule book, and that's Dungeon Pets. I want to thank Paul Grogan's videos for getting us through that one. But once we started to figure it out and started to understand how it worked, for me, it hit on every level, and the theme is incredibly charming, right? So I really enjoyed Dungeon Pets.
So we're at BGGCon trying to figure this out, and I don't know, I think it was kind of getting a little bit late, and I picked up my phone and just hit Twitter because I knew Paul Grogan was at the convention, and on a lark I just said, "Hey man, can you come teach this to us?" And then we get a reply going, "Well, where are you at?" And I'm like, "Oh well, we're upstairs." He's like, "Oh well, I'm downstairs. I can't come up there." But anyway. But we finally we powered
Pieced
through
it together.
And once you kind of go, it's one of those games where, like you said, it's all about the rule book. The rule book is, you could use some work, but once you figure it out to where you can get through just one turn, you really start to see how the game works, and then everything just kind of falls in. And by the end of the game, it's pretty simple. It's it flows very nicely once you know what the flow is.
Yep.
The thing with the rule book especially, it was written in a very charming and cutesy way. But the problem with that is if you need to figure out what a rule is, you're digging through page after page trying to find it in all that cutesiness.
Yeah, the cute gets in the way of
right. And
function.
maybe if we had, I know they had iconography all over, your board and the board itself.
But it doesn't make sense.
But it doesn't make sense
through
unless
the
you're
game
through.
some, right? Yeah.
So definitely a little bit more work on that rule book. I did enjoy it near the end. Once I was getting frustrated at the beginning, but I really did enjoy it near the end.
You murdered that rabbit.
I did. I'm a bad pet owner, but I think it's going to have to take more plays for me to really see if it's a game for me.
Yeah. We played a number of games at BGGCon, and not that many off the shelf. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I actually had a disappointment I wanted to bring up during this segment. And there's a game I've been looking at for years, and it was just reprinted. And the reprint is beautiful. Nothing against the publisher who reprinted it. But I was incredibly disappointed in Amun-Re. It's Egyptian themed in that it's got Egyptian style art on the board, and that's it. Otherwise, it's just a giant exercise in math. And I know you could say that about a lot of games, but I had none of the theme come into me. It was so incredibly dry. I was literally pulling levers to do this, and add this, and I didn't get any enjoyment out of playing Amun-Re, so that was disappointing to me.
Yeah, I felt like it was just a very unexciting auction game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was auction, and then you do an auction, and now do an auction, and I agree. I like the Egyptian thing too, and I'm always on the lookout for games that would seem interesting there. This one just wasn't really it.
Well, for my disappointment, it was one game that I had been looking forward to, and I'd read up on, and I read everyone's commentary on it, so I was really excited, and it was post-apocalyptic, so, right on. But that was Edge of Humanity, and it really became a disappointment for me. I guess I had built it up so much in my mind, but when I finally sat down and got to play it, it wasn't anything like I thought it would or should be. I know you're kind of building this engine up, but it just droned on for me, and so that was a really big disappointment.
You know what I thought playing that one? I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah.
It felt like Dead of Winter, the card game, with absolutely no soul. That's what I felt like when we were playing.
We talked about it while we were there. It feels like that there's something there that just wasn't quite developed enough.
Yeah, agreed.
And we couldn't really put our finger on exactly what that was. I have a disappointment of a game that I really enjoyed playing, and that's Riverboat. This game is very fun. You're gonna have a personal board, sort of in the style of Castles of Burgundy, if you've played that, to build or to plant a garden or crops of some type. And each player board has a different configuration, so you have a little uniqueness there. You're going to use those crops to basically lure riverboats to come to your area to be filled with your goods and ship those off, and there's a lot of management there. I love the mechanics of the game. What I don't like is that the first time I played it, I was waiting on Lucas and Joe to get there, and so I meandered into the hot games area with this game and had quickly found 3 other players, so we're playing at max player count, and the game went swimmingly. And just, wow, Then Lucas and Jolene got there, and I wanted to show them the game, and so we played 3-player. So there's one change in 3-player with the way it has not role selection, but every turn players select bonus tiles to take for each phase that's going to happen through the game. And if you're holding phase 1, you're going to get a bonus in phase 1. If you're holding phase 3, and so on. So in a 4-player game, that's cool because there's 4 phases. Everybody gets one, and you start with the starting player. He picks one, and then you go around and do that. In a 3-player game, you're going to do the same thing, but essentially the first player just gets 2 tiles, and so are getting 2 bonuses. Well, so I guess the balancing act that they did with that in a 3-player game, they tell you in the final round of the game. I believe there's 4 rounds of the game. The person with the lowest victory points at the moment will be the starting player and will essentially get that double bonus. As, I guess, kind of a catch-up mechanic. That really, really didn't sit well with me very, very well at all, because it felt like to me that was a late catch kind of in play testing and development, and they had so much already finished that they really couldn't do any major changes, and so they said, you know what, we're just going to do this in the rule book, and hopefully that'll patch it up. And so my problem was I like the game so much, and if I have 3 other players to play it with, I'll play it in a heartbeat. But since, the chances that I get to play this on a regular basis are probably going to be 3-player, I just didn't, it just doesn't sit well, so I probably won't end up picking it up. But that's okay, because Newsfjord was such a good game that, we just get that one and I can play it instead. So that was my disappointment. But those are the 3 games, the Newsfjord, 5 Trials, and Dungeon Fest that we really did enjoy. Okay, we've been friends for a while, and you know that we're addicts, and we admit it. And we went to the Drug Emporium this month. BGGCON was this month, and that's all I can say. We added 22 titles to the Shelf of Shame.
That number's a little deceiving the way he's presenting it.
Well, it is. So we participated in the BGGCON math trade.
Yep.
And we were using it as an opportunity to try to kind of cull some of the titles that we have either played and didn't care for, or played and, could live without. And apparently there were 11 other people that wanted our games. And so we came back with 11 new titles just from that.
Yeah.
So we also had some
con freebies, some Kickstarter
deliveries. And so, it's terrible. Christmas probably not going to be much better.
No.
But hey, we did play 2 off the shelf while we were at beach.
You can tell we were focused on the new games.
Yeah, I can't even say what's in fact, for me, my count was actually 12 games played this month, but only 2 from the Shelf of Shame.
Yeah, something like that.
And I think you guys are
14.
14 or so there. So we did play games. They just weren't from the shelf that we needed them to come off of. So those are numbers there. As played through August, we have 128 games played, and we have 85 left on the shelf to play. We're wondering if maybe we're going to have to do Shelf of Shame 2 in 2018 because the rules that we've been tossing around being the trigger for the Shelf of Shame is if the Shelf of Shame reaches 100, that year has to be a Shelf of Shame year.
Yeah, so, I think we'll get there.
Lucas is pretty confident we're going to get there, and knowing how our Christmases go, he's probably right. So that's where we stand right now, though. The two that we played this month, Dungeon Pets and Food Truck Champion. Dungeon Pets we've already talked about, great game. Let's talk about Food Truck Champion. Now, Lucas, you backed this on Kickstarter.
I did. You know, it just slipped my brain who made it, but I've backed their Kickstarters before, and you got it over there.
Daily Magic.
Daily Magic, yeah. And I like their stuff. And then I saw this thing drop, and the theme of it was an insta-back for me. Right? I really enjoyed that, and it's, you know, it's basically just a little card tableau building type thing you're trying to do. It's very reminiscent of those little apps where this customer comes in and you need to serve them a burger and a tea or whatever. You know, it's very much like that, and I enjoyed it. I think it fits into the maybe filler plus category, and I think it's good for that purpose. I think it's a light game that you can just have fun with. You know.
Yeah, I had fun with it too. Yeah. I like the theme of the food truck and all that, and it was easy to play, easy to pick up, very portable. Good game.
Yep. I think we're also going to talk about, because those are the only two Shelf of Shame plays we have, I think we're going to talk about some of the, not all of, some of the, you may see what we added scrolling up here, some of the games that we added and why, and I'll go ahead and kick that off. My first one was Chimera Station. I saw this on Kickstarter whenever it was on Kickstarter, and I was a backer of it for a while, and for some reason I backed out of it. I got cold feet, and I didn't end up supporting the project. And I've regretted it ever since, because every review that I've watched of it or play that I've seen of it, it seems like something I'm really going to enjoy. It's a worker placement game, and you've got these little goofy, almost Pixar-looking aliens, which are your workers, right? And they're going around this station doing whatever it is that they do. But you can upgrade him, and now you actually pull him apart and add another piece to it, so you'll visually see that your worker is enhanced, and maybe he has some arms so he can get extra things, or whatever that does. We haven't played it yet, but it's a little too cutesy for me, which may be what backed me off of it, but everything I've seen of the gameplay, I think I'm really going to enjoy it, so that's why I picked up Chimera Station.
One of the ones that I picked up was Dead Men Tell No Tales. This is one that's been interesting me for a while now, and basically it's a haunted ship out there, and you're finally going to be able to grab all the loot from it and infiltrate it, but it's cursed, so it kind of reminds me a little bit of a smaller, lighter version maybe of Rum and Bones, because you do have the MOBA thing with the, I think, with the skeletons that are on there.
It's cooperative.
It is cooperative. Okay. It is a cooperative game, so I was reading up a little bit on it. Again, we haven't played it, but it said in there that you could, like if I have, let's just say off the top of my head, 3 actions, but it would benefit you if you had another one, I could give you my actions.
Okay.
So cooperatively, we can make the best moves.
Is this the one where the ship is sinking?
And on fire.
And on fire.
And you got to grab stuff and then get off?
Right. It's on fire and sinking and haunted. And so it just seemed really fun and interesting, and so I wanted to give it a try.
Hold on. What's interesting about that one, though, this is actually a mistake here, because as you're explaining this, one of our rules for the Shelf of Shame is that any member of the Roll to Hit Gaming crew, including the 2 that you don't typically see on camera, could have played it, and that makes it not on the shelf because one of us has. I believe Brandon's played that game.
That's right. I believe
he told us about it one night. That he played it, yeah.
Oh. So not added.
Yeah.
Hey, we might be up to 3 this month. My only choice on this is Imperial Settlers. Now, you guys introduced me to 51st State by Ignacy Trzewiczek, and I love it. Now, I love the post-apocalyptic stuff, but the way that 51st State works with kind of building out your engine and stuff like that, I really enjoyed that. And come to find out, that was kind of built on the Imperial Settlers, or vice versa, I can't remember. But Imperial Settlers is sort of a fantasy version of that, which I like fantasy too. The Imperial Settlers actually caught my eye at first because of the artwork. I like the cartoony little characters that they've made. But I never really bid on the game because I wasn't quite sure about it. And then you guys showed me 51st State. I was like, wow. So this one came through the math trade, and we actually know the guy that was trading it. He's a local we used to play X-Wing with. And so, I said, okay, well, let's make the offer there, and we won that one. So that was pretty cool. And I think our copy even came with a couple of expansions, so we're already sort of ahead of the game on that. So we'll see how it goes. See how it matches up.
My last one here for pickups at the con that we're going to talk about is Nations, the dice game. The idea of a Civ builder is really appealing to me. And a lot of the time when we find one and put it on the table, it is a Civ builder, but maybe it's just a little too granular, and it tends to drone on a little bit. I haven't found that one that's tight enough and still gives me the feeling that I like yet. But I saw that this one was being re-released a few months ago, and everybody that I know that has played it speaks highly of Nations, and lately I've discovered that I really like these little dice versions of these games. So I saw this one at the Stronghold booth and had to pick it up. Nations, the dice game.
That one does look really cool. You're right. A lot of the ones that we have, they never make it to the table.
Yeah.
Because they're so expanding. So that'll be a fun one for us to try. The last one that I wanted to mention, this was like from the way, way back machine. It's one that caught my eye because I really like political games. And this one's from 2007. And it's called Tammany Hall. Basically, it's, old New York, and it's area control, and you have the politics. And it's Take That. But I don't think it'd be the type of Take That we don't tend to like, because it is an area control and it is political. So I have a lot of high hopes for this one to just give me that touch of politics that I'm looking for.
I think this one is going to be kind of Take That in the style of 1960, The Making of a President. I mean, you're going to expect it because you're trying to,
get those votes.
You're trying to win political favor, right? So, I'm interested to play it. I think that's a neat title. Those are our Shelf of Shame update and some of the additions that we've put on. We hope we're going to finish the year under 100, but I don't know. Well, stay tuned.
Welcome back for our roundtable discussion. And this month we wanted to talk about BGGCON. We went the week before Thanksgiving, and this was our fourth BGGCON. So what did you guys think comparing this year to previous years?
Well, in previous years, I thought that there was more stuff. There was the promos and stuff that you get were, less than what it was the previous years. There wasn't as many vendors there, or they weren't selling as much. They were demoing, but they really didn't bring the merchandise out for us to buy. So that was not what I was expecting. But the atmosphere was still the same. I mean, everyone still enjoyed themselves. You got to see the familiar faces. So that part of it hadn't changed. It just seemed like the vendor element was different.
Yeah, you're describing what I think my brain has termed the PAX effect.
Okay.
Because that their convention ended up being scheduled the same week, and a lot of the vendors who would normally exhibit and sell, and I'm talking some of the big boys here, just exhibited at BGGCON. And I don't know how much impact that had on folks' enjoyment, because like you said, I felt like everything else was kind of like it always was, but it was a little surprising to me.
Yeah, there was a kind of an underlying atmosphere of that.
Almost tension. Right?
Yeah, and come to find out, the folks at PAX were actually having the same feeling about BGGCON. So,
oh wow,
yeah, I was surprised about that. But I kind of, I've tossed it around in my head ever since we've been there, and I came to the conclusion of, how the umpire only makes the crap plays or the crap calls to your team. And so I think that
sports fans are the worst human
for
beings
a lot
in the world,
of a lot of folks. It's probably whatever con is kind of close to you is the one you sort of give the benefit of the doubt to. I will say that I thought the atmosphere of BGGCon was still really great. Really pumped. And I think the attendance was a little bit higher than last year.
I believe so too.
Or at least the concentration was, because Usually, the main gaming hall, which is vast and has table after table after table, usually up until Saturday, you can pretty much find a table most hours. There's a couple of islands during the day where the room will fill up, but this was the first year we actually had to partake of the rooms, the conference rooms that they reserve up the hotel, right? So on every floor of the hotel, or almost every floor, they've reserved conference rooms that they can add even more tables to. And we actually kind of found that to be preferable.
I had that on my lessons learned list because you were like, hey, let's go up there and play. And I'm like, we're not going to find anything. And there was plenty of space. The room was, because it was smaller, it was a little more air conditioned because it felt like they didn't turn the air conditioner on this year.
There's a bathroom right by you.
It was just so much better, right? So, I may shoot first at those next time.
I hope we're not giving away our secrets now, but those are nice.
We had the misconception that, when it said you can go to this room.
I thought it was a hotel room.
We thought it was like those little tables and then you can put it on the bed or something. But it was actually conference rooms.
But I think that, and then come to find out, the whole scheduling thing with PAX was, it was a late game kind of thing. Next year will not overlap. PAX is going to be first or second week of December. BGGCON will, as always, has been the week before Thanksgiving. So, I think it was just one of those deals. I think there were some people that were a little bit butthurt over it, but, the most part, everybody. We had 3,000 people at the convention, and they were all having fun playing games. What more can you say? As for the vendors, I wonder because PAX, the video game side of PAX is going to be. Or is mostly demo stuff. So, EA will bring their new game and let you line up and play it for 5 or 10 minutes to get a feel for it or whatever. And then they're all about the tchotchkes. So, you might get a Steam code for a free game or you might get, whatever. I wonder if their unplugged version is going to take that route and be more just going to show you demos and less game space. And BGGCON is going to remain the convention to go if you want to play a board game and, with a bunch of friends.
That's what it is, right? You go to, I guess, Gen Con for the spectacle. Origins is pretty large. If you've got the means, you go to Essen, and that's just a giant fair. BGGCon is the place to go to play the games.
10,000 games in a library outshines any other con. And they have plenty of space for you to play. So that is its shining virtue. So
I got another lesson learned on my list.
Okay.
In years past, we have done a variety of things around food. We've sack lunched it. We've eaten in a little restaurant there at the hotel. I hope the hotel proprietors aren't watching. Don't do that. This year, almost every day, we left the convention, and because it's in DFW Airport, and right around that airport, there's every kind of food place you could possibly imagine. So, every day we would venture out into Dallas to go get food, and that was great because we were able to get good food. We were able to choose what we wanted out of a vast variety of things versus what the hotel was serving. And then it was almost like just a little decompressed time. Get out of there. Just relax a little bit. Not that it's stressful because you're just playing games, but
it's loud. I mean, there's a lot of people there, so you could actually kind of step back, like you said, decompress, talk about what y'all had seen and done so far, and what you want to do next. So it was a way just to kind of settle down. So it was a nice way to pull back.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, the only regret I have this year is we got wrapped up in playing some games, and I missed a couple panels I actually wanted to go to. That happens, though, right? I think next year I may set myself an alarm reminder. We got wrapped up in riverboats and missed one. So.
Right. And so we talked about the math trade. You guys cool. Yeah, you guys had a little bit of a problem with that. There was one fella that was kind of late to the party, and he had a bunch of trades. So, but everything was fine. It was flawless delivery, and so we gave away 11 and got 11 in return. And we're happy with those choices. But then we also partook in the annual flea market, bazaar, or whatever they call it. And yeah, this thing is what a spectacle. It's an hour of free-for-all commerce.
And it's timed.
Yeah,
You have an
tables,
hour.
People reserve tables and fill them up to the brim with games they're trying to sell. And in an hour, they are wheeling and dealing. Mm-hmm. So, and it's shoulder to shoulder and maybe even a little closer. So I think they make you leave the backpacks outside. So
well, it's good because you'd be hitting people left and right.
I picked up Florenza, the card game, at the flea market because we've played Florenza, the board game, and had such a good time with it. And so I'd seen Florenza, the card game, at our local game store. And just hadn't picked it up, but I thought, well, that might be neat to play. And so I saw it in the flea market, and I had to do my double round on him. So I approach him, and I'm like, hey, will you take such and such for that? They tell me no. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'll keep walking, and if it's still there by the time I make the circuit again, I say, okay, well, what kind of deal can we make on this? And usually I get some pretty good deals. So I picked that one up. I think I picked that one up for $15. I think and it's new in shrink. I think the tag on it was $45. So I was pretty happy with that. Yeah. Did you guys pick up anything?
I picked up Helios. I know absolutely nothing about the game other than it's really pretty. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping it was a good one.
Yeah, we'll see. It's Z-Man. So it'll be good components. I picked up Lewis and Clark, The Expedition. And I've been looking at that one for a while. And again, they're used, right, because it's a flea market type situation. But I got a really good deal on it, and hopefully it turns out to be a really good game.
Yeah, and I'm not one of these that has to keep my games in pristine condition.
No.
As long as it's playable, and if something that I don't want stuff torn up if it's something that's supposed to be kind of hidden information. I don't want tells on it, right? Any marks or whatever, but. Yeah, if the board's cracked, oh well, it happens. I got 4 kids, so keeping my stuff in mint condition is an exercise in futility. So, but I had a great time at the bazaar. It's always fun and a bunch of good times. So, anything else from you guys?
No, not really. I think I actually think this was one of the more relaxing years of going to the con, and maybe that's just because like I said, it was our 4th go at it. Mm-hmm. But I came out of it excited and ready to go again next year. Oh, yeah. So, if you're in the Dallas area, or if you're looking for a vacation the week before Thanksgiving, and you can grab a ticket because they sold out really quickly this last year.
This year.
I would strongly encourage you to come to BGGCON. You're not going to get the spectacle of a Gen Con or an Origins, but you're going to be able to find somebody to sit down and play your favorite game with. Mm-hmm. That's what this hobby's about.
And now the time you've all been waiting for. It's time for our Bad Board Game Description Challenge. This is not a description of a bad board game per se, but it is a bad description of a board game. If you know the answer, be the first person to comment down below with the correct answer. And if you happen to have a BGG account, let me know your BGG login, and I will send you 100 crispy new Geek Gold. So this month's challenge, you've been hired to do one thing, to tend your employer's garden. But his rotund, bichromatic pet is intent on consuming as fast as you can tend. So if you know the answer to that, be the first to comment down below, and let me know your BGG account to get the 100 Geek Gold.
And with that, that's going to wrap up another episode of Roll to Hit Gaming Monthly, this time looking back at November 2017. And before we close, I want to put out a little call to action. We're currently brainstorming and laying the groundwork for some things we want to do in 2018. And if you've got any ideas for content you'd like to see or segments you'd like to see in this show, drop us an email at rolltohitgaming@gmail.com or post them in the comments below. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Lucas.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Chip. Don't forget to subscribe.